Hello.
Welcome back to another wonderful episode of Metal Gear University.
I am T.
And I am K. And we did a perfect intro. T, how you doing?
I think that was like the first perfect intro we've ever done.
It only took us about 7 months, so
we're doing it. We're getting better. I'm getting closer to the mic. Can you hear me? I think
so.
Cool.
How you doing, T?
I'm doing all right. Doing good. Had an okay week.
Okay, yeah. What you been up to?
I applied to a job, which is neat.
You applied to more than just one job.
Yeah,
You're just excited about this job.
I'm excited for one particular one because they wanted a video cover letter, and I was like, I could do that. And it wasn't just like me in front of a webcam going like, "Hi, this is T, and these are my abilities." Like I edited it.
My name is T, and
I'm here to say I'm here to edit in a special way.
Oh my God! Sorry, go ahead.
I used Premiere, and I got to say, no, I can't.
You used too much of the same rhyme.
I'm sorry. I'm too Caucasian. Okay. But I used my editing skills to showcase what I could do. So hopefully, people like it.
Yeah, I thought that was cool that this job gave you an option to do a video cover letter as opposed to just bullshit like Word document and then resume. I feel like you were able to show your chops.
Yeah.
Which I think is more inclusive.
It's the first job I've applied to in a while that I feel like I have a really good shot at.
Knock on wood. What's funny though, you get this job. Mind you, in a couple months, I hate this. I hate this job.
You know what? I'll hate it, but be paid very well. So I'll take it.
Knock on wood. So everybody, if you're a fan of us and not an enemy, please think good thoughts. If you're an enemy, thanks for listening. Anyway, so because some people like to hate listen, not to us, but like I hate listen sometimes.
Oh, you do? I've never hate listened to anything in my whole life.
But you know how there's like some like terribly bad, like really bad, like YouTube people who just are really like.
Oh yeah, you gotta keep tabs.
Yeah, like. We're veering on a very weird tangent. Like Tom and I have like a certain YouTube account that's where we just like look at all the really bad takes and really bad.
Yeah, like you don't want to fuck up your algorithm, you know, but you're kind of curious to what like quote unquote the other side is into, and I'm like I just want to hear what's going on over there.
So that's our guest YouTube account. We actually have a friend over today, or like the past couple of days. Me and her went to a concert, and we just hanging out with her in the living room, and she went on YouTube, and I'm like, wait. I have to tell you about this account because she's very friendly and she's very considerate. So I can imagine her going to this guest account to not ruin our algorithms. And we were like, wait, don't go on that account. I just have to tell you, that's the bad account. That's the dark itstkandm.
Like she's gonna go home and be like, yo, itstkandm are like incels. It's like we're not.
We're not.
We just keep tabs.
Welcome to Metal Gear University. We're not incels.
We are definitely not incels.
But T, good luck, knock on wood, for your application. It was a really good cover letter or cover video. Also, Tom snuck in a Metal Gear Solid reference in there, because of course you did.
Of course. I can't not do it. There was a thing where like I have like some experience that I have managing social media accounts. And when they come up, it's like the Metal Gear Solid menu.
Not even
sounds.
That though. You talk about your background and you put a still from Metal Gear Solid 2.
Yeah, I did. Oh yeah, I did. It was the United States flag.
The brain rot is so real. You didn't even remember it.
I didn't even remember. It was just there. I'm such a fucking dork.
You are a dork. Oh my god, just a nerd. You and your Warhammer and your Metal Gear and your conventions, just a nerd.
Whatever.
Speaking about nerd stuff, we saw Furiosa.
Incredible. I thought it was really cool.
Honestly, I'm one for a good movie. I love going to the theater. I love going and experience the surround sound, I love being physically in a theater. Mm-hmm. But we saw that also in 4DX. And if any of you have not gone to a 4DX theater and you have one near you, give yourself a little day.
It turns your movie into like a theme park ride. Like Furiosa, it's a good candidate for this kind of thing. So like let's say, Furiosa's driving and she's crashing into other cars and she's shooting at other people. the seats move to match what's going on screen. Steam shoots at your face. The seats have the ability to like pinch you a little bit. So like
if like someone gets crushed, you feel like a push on your back.
It's crazy.
No, and like you said, I think like for like those bigger movies, Furiosa, Fast and the Furious, like you got to go to 4DX. We saw Godzilla -1 in it.
That was a little crazy.
we felt Godzilla bite us. It was terrible. So like it honestly, I feel like if you're going to just like experience Furiosa, maybe see it for the first time in a regular theater. But if you want like a second viewing and you're like, you know what, let me play around a little bit, 4DX is where it's at. I didn't realize they weren't as available.
Yeah, it's more of like a niche thing. We're lucky to have one by us.
Yeah.
What's your take on Furiosa overall, though?
I love the character, and I do love this movie. But I will say, like, Mad Max Fury Road, like, that was just... I think since it was the first, it just holds a special place in my heart. But this one, I think her backstory, I think Anna Taylor-Joy, they did a phenomenal job.
Oh, yeah. No, it was a very well thought out movie. It did a lot of world building, which Fury Road did lack. But I don't know. To me, there's just something about fucking Fury Road. I think
I feel like sometimes personally nostalgia goggles really like cloud my judgment sometimes. I feel like for me, since it was the first, everything else is just going to compare to it. It's hard for me to separate and see things on its own merits. So, like, I was constantly like, oh, they didn't do it in the last movie. Oh, they did it better in this. You know, like, I was constantly...
Yeah.
But I think it was still fantastic.
Oh, it matches what Fury Road did very well. Like, Fury Road was more action. And so if you just want, like, a consistent car chase all throughout, go to Fury Road. But you watch that, and you're like, I want to know more about the world that these characters exist in. I would suggest checking this movie out. It's actually pretty cool.
No, and everybody kills it. Everybody did a great job. No part of it. It didn't feel as long as it was. It definitely.
And then Kojima said that I forgot his name in the movie, but like if he said that there's an actor in this movie that Kojima was like, I want him to be Snake so bad.
Can you imagine someone makes this like magnum opus of a work. It's like they're known for this specific character and piece of media, and the creator's like, I want you to play my main child. Like, I would never stop talking about that.
Oh, I would never.
I would.
If Kojima told me personally that he could see me as Snake, I could quite possibly just die happy on the spot.
Crystal, I want you to play Fat Man in a movie so bad. I would be like, thank you. Thank you, Kojima. I'd be like, thank you so much. I would never live it down.
You just start rolling around on roller skates.
I'm an artist.
I'm an artist.
I would never live that down.
I planted 5 bombs. Like, you planted 5 bombs?
Sorry. Kojima told me I'm living up to my name now. Don't call me. It's T and it's Fat Man. But yeah, I feel like that actor, he did do. It's just go watch it. Go watch it. We're influenced. We're influencing you. Go check it out. If you have a 4DX theater, definitely go check it out. I don't know. I like leaving the house every once in a while, and that's a nice. We saw it with my parents too. It was a good time.
Yeah. No. It was a good excuse to leave the house. So if to other homebodies that are out there, check it out. It's a good reason to leave the house.
I like how my dad was like, it didn't move enough. I'm like, Dad, go on a roller coaster. Like, it moved a lot. Like, it was enough where, like, popcorn was spilling. Like, it was shaking.
Yeah, my fingers were gripping the arms of the chairs
my mom
so hard.
Was like, is there a seatbelt? I'm like, Mom, please. But some seats didn't have seatbelts. So
I think it was for the disabled section.
Yeah, but it definitely, but like still, I feel like the fact that like, you know, like they have a seatbelt, like it does move a significant amount.
Yeah.
So definitely check it out. But what a movie! What a movie! I want to see Fast and the Furious in 4DX.
That is the one that I'm looking forward to the most. Like Godzilla, when we saw that was like the curiosity one, because we already saw it in a normal theater. So when we when we saw it again, it was like, okay, we already seen it. Let's check out the 4DX one. Let's see how it is. And that was crazy. So then we saw Furiosa in this, and we knew what to expect. But Fast and the Furious is something that I have to see.
And if you're gonna go with us, please expect giggles. We did nothing but giggle the entire time.
Because it just turns it into a roller coaster. Like, it's fun, you know?
And we're not big talkers. We're not in the theater looking at our phones or chatting, whatever, but we are gigglers. We will sit there. And that's what we were doing the whole time. Such a good little experience. Talking about something a little bit less of a good experience, the State of Play and Silent Hill Transmission came out.
Yay!
You know what? I'm being a little mean, but I'm glad we're getting news of.
It's things. Something.
It's something. It's been a minute, and I mean more specifically Silent Hill. But before we jump to that, were there any other things that got announced
in the State of Play? Yeah, but like the Silent Hill one was like the heavy hitter. Like there was a Monster Hunter trailer.
I'm too dumb for Monster Hunter, so but it looked nice.
Yeah,
there's a baddie.
They brought God of War to PC.
I'm trying to think what else. All I can think about is Silent Hill.
Yeah, the only thing I can think about is Silent Hill.
And no Metal Gear updates.
You know, I was actually kind of expecting something, but whatever.
Maybe they'll have a showcase later in the summer.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, we'll see.
I mean, I can imagine maybe they're even like debating like, do we push the game?
I would imagine Metal Gear Delta being a little bit better or more polished than Silent Hill is.
At this point in time?
At this point in time, yeah. It at least in short bursts. Like, I'm sure Silent Hill is probably more done at this point, but I just feel like Metal Gear has a better fanfare behind it than Silent Hill does currently.
So like they're waiting to like to make sure what they release is like, this is it.
Yeah.
I can see that. I mean, they have two big franchises that they're trying to like navigate and two big fan bases. So I feel like they're kind of like, okay, which one do we
like? Honestly, something that I was genuinely kind of shocked is that they didn't announce any kind of master collection for the Silent Hill series.
We're talking about Silent Hill now. Let's go.
Well, okay.
Let's go.
I'm sorry.
I've talked about Silent Hill quite a bit on Twitter and a little bit on this podcast. Silent Hill was one of the first horror game I ever saw. It was Silent Hill 1 and Resident Evil Code Veronica. My dad did Silent Hill 1. My mom did Code Veronica. And Resident Evil, thankfully, it's flourishing. It kind of dipped a little bit.
It's in a renaissance now.
Renaissance. Thankfully, 7 came out and they killed it. Silent Hill hasn't got the same amount of luck.
Yeah.
And I mean, I feel like after 4, meep, and then it kind of went quiet. PT came out. Like, it's just been a lot of just like really sad moments in this franchise. So like when Silent Hill 2 got announced, I was not excited because to me it felt like a cash grab. It felt like if we're gonna go into Silent Hill, why not start from the beginning? Or like you just said, why not come out with a master collection and then, oh wait, look, we're doing Silent Hill 2 first.
Yeah.
Which, okay. But I don't want to do, can I do a little spoiler?
Yeah, sure.
1 and 3 are connected. Silent Hill 1 and 3. So like more specifically then, like they're all tied together.
Yeah, but
1 and 3 are more.
2's more of like a standalone story.
Which maybe that's their reasoning for remaking it first. But like I wish they would have just kind of started with 1 because it's the oldest one, and that one would benefit from a remake. 2, it's like you can still it's of course retro, but you can still play it now. But I just especially with the also too like this transmission had a lot of merch announcements and
that's what turned me off. Like there were some people chirping on Twitter and Reddit who have a very internet and Reddit kind of response, and it's just like, just chill out. Some people just need to take a breather and it's gonna be okay,
me included.
People were chirping that Angela looks different. It's fine. I mean, like, I get it, but like it's something that could be modified. They changed up James it's not out of the question that they could change up her.
No, that's a good. I can imagine they might even do that now.
Yeah,
That's a good point.
But like, I remember there were some people when they were showcasing off the combat and it looked too actiony. They were like, "It's too fast. It's too actiony." Then this gameplay trailer comes out and it's clunky and slow, and those same people are like, "It's too clunky and slow. It needs to be more fluid and actiony." And it's like people just want to be angry at it. And I'm not saying don't be critical. It's okay to be critical. I'm critical of it, but like we have to like take a step back and be like, "Yo, we are not 15 and we're not on the PS2 anymore.
Playing this series for the first time."
You know, we have to look at it for what it is as a game made in 2024. And does it carry over the themes as well as the original? I'm looking for stuff like that.
I mean, it's funny because, like, to your point of like, kind of comparing it to when it first came out, I saw a post and I was like, okay, like it kind of checked me. Someone was complaining that the voice acting sounded terrible in this trailer.
The voice acting sounded terrible in the first game. Have you heard these fucking games?
So that's why, for me, I was like, okay, we all really need to kind of like have a meeting, come together. What are we really mad about?
I remember there were video essays talking specifically that the voice acting was bad on purpose to give you an unnerving feeling of just being uncomfortable while playing this game. There were video essays about it, and the comments at the bottom were like, "It's a brilliant take. Yeah, it's so brilliant, so cool." And then the game comes out now, and it has like weird stilted voice acting, and it's like, these actors can't act. They don't know what they're doing. Konami's fucked. And I'm like, look, Konami's probably fucked.
Yeah.
But like, let's take a step back here, okay?
Yeah.
It's not everything is bad, you know?
I mean, I really stand by the situation of like, you know, we're older gamers and things don't feel the same like they do because we are older. We've been through and we got adult brain now.
Yeah.
The prefrontal cortex is fully developed. You know, like
we're not in middle school. We're not in high school.
Simple and clean isn't making us cry as much as what did the first time. Like
it's okay. It's gonna be okay. All right.
I mean, it's funny because all of us on both sides, complaining and not complaining, we're all gonna buy it. Mm-hmm. And I think I will say, I was pleasantly surprised by the trailer in the sense of like the first image we got of it. I think I was mad that they were remaking 2, and then it just felt like. It felt like not needed, and it felt like they were changing the entirety of kind of like the gameplay. Like it looked so much more actiony. Mm-hmm. This one, there were gameplay video of him like walking slowly down a hallway. There was him walking outside, and I got a feeling of like dread. I got a small feeling of dread, which I was like, okay, that's how I felt the first time. Mm-hmm. You can tell they're changing a lot of it, but I think to your point, I think I'm gonna base it on like horror games now made in 2024 because that's where we are. You know what I mean? Like this team is gonna, of course, try to keep it to the original, but it's gonna really be.
Yeah, like I mean, let's put it into like a little bit clearer perspective. If somebody were to remake Metropolis, right, and that was like a hit silent film, right? It paved the way.
Oh, I thought you were talking about.
Oh no, I'm talking movies.
Yeah, they're talking about isn't Francis Ford Coppola's movie called Metropolis?
I think it's Megalopolis.
Megalopolis. I'm sorry.
Nah,
ignore me.
You're fine. But like, if somebody were to remake Metropolis and it was like a hit silent film back in the day, right? They're not gonna remake it and have it be black and white, blurry as hell, and silent. That is not gonna fly. And film snobs around the world wouldn't be like, oh, I'm not gonna watch it because it's not a silent film. It's 2024. Nobody makes silent films anymore. At least like people who are like outside of like film school. You know what I mean? Like,
no, it's gonna be reflective of what's currently happening, and we see that in the trailer. He picks up an item and he turns it in like that Resident Evil 7 kind of way.
Yeah.
Like there's gonna be nods to like current horror games now. So
and that it's okay. Yeah. Like the main things that I'm concerned about is stuff that really I won't be able to know 100% until I have the game in my hands.
Yeah.
And it's the themes of the game. How well does the story how is the story compared to the first one, and like do I get the same feelings that I get when I played the original, you know? And that's what I'm looking for.
No, I feel like you said, it's not going to be something we know until it comes out. And I feel like they have a losing battle regardless. Like for me, the fact that they picked Silent Hill 2, I think it was a lose-lose because one, the first one is a classic. Like that is literally, you think of survival horror, Silent Hill 2 might be the first choice for a lot of people. For you said Silent Hill 2 is probably the best horror game you've played.
Without a doubt. Classic or modern.
So I feel like they did a losing battle with that. You're not going to make old fans happy, the majority of them, because it's just, you can't come. Silent Hill 2 is just such a, a feat. And then with new fans, they're going to be like, it's not like Resident Evil or Ellen. You know what I mean? Like they got to compare it to what they're playing now.
Yeah.
So I personally, I would have loved if they just, we haven't heard anything about Silent Hill F, which is their new game. I would have loved if they went for a new game, or remade one in like make it more modern, so people are playing this old game that they might have forgotten or never had the chance to play.
Mm-hmm. I mean, look, I know we didn't get it in this transmission, but I'm still holding out hope that there's going to be a Silent Hill Master Collection, because it's such a stupid idea if they don't do it.
I feel like Konami is listening because they listen to like people complaining about James's face. Mm-hmm. So I feel like they are listening. So I might just have to be annoying, and we have to be annoying and tweet at them more or like speak about it more. But I just, if they care about money, that's a quick cash grab.
Hell yeah, it is.
That's a quick. I gotta look up though, because I could have sworn, and again, this is just something I might have seen, rumor or whatever. I might have seen that they don't have the original code for those games.
I think they don't have it for 2. I could be wrong there, but I know that there are one Silent Hill game or multiple Silent Hill games that they don't have like the source code, more or less.
How does that happen? Like it's not preserved.
They're just stupid. I don't know. But like that doesn't mean that it cannot be emulated properly. It just means that their job is harder. Yeah. Because people can play an emulated allegedly people could play an emulated version of Silent Hill with no issues. So allegedly. I'm not saying that it is impossible to do. It just makes their job a little bit harder. It just means, are they willing to have a little bit of a harder job? Yeah, right.
Like, is the time for them? They have to decide if the time is worth the money, if the effort's worth the money. Which I think eventually you're right. If they did it for Metal Gear Solid, I can imagine they'll probably do it for Silent Hill. But I don't know when. But I hope soon, because it's silly to me to not even have them on like the PlayStation Plus thing.
Yeah, I'm just surprised, genuinely surprised.
Much love to everybody out there. I have a lot of friends who are like, they know I'm looking for Silent Hill 1, 3, and 4, and they're like, Crystal, I checked the game store. They don't have it, but I put my name down for you. And I'm like, thanks, bud. Thank you so much.
You guys are some real ones.
I got some people out there looking for me. So, but yeah, I'm a big Silent Hill head. So feel free to send me questions or talk to me about Silent Hill. That was just one of the. I mean, I think that's why I love survival horror so much, is because Resident Evil Code Veronica and Silent Hill 1s were my first kind of like games I remember. Like games I remember. It's that and Super Mario World or Super Mario Brothers 3. Those 3 games are like my first memories of gaming. And then Resident Evil 4, I think, was the first game I really beat that I remember. So like, it's just, horror has a special place in my heart, and I feel like with Silent Hill, it's just I want it to be good, and I'm nervous, and I just want this series to be remembered.
It will be. It's gonna be okay.
It's gonna be okay.
It's gonna be okay.
All right.
That said, do you know what time it is?
What time is it?
It's time for a pop quiz.
How did you get me this time?
Because I wrote them.
No, you did it.
I did.
You did. Okay, I'm ready.
All right. So, Kay.
Yeah?
I have devised 5 questions that talk about the various terrorist groups that we covered last episode. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, God.
Question number 1.
I'm not ready.
Question number 1.
Okay.
Name 2 non-Metal Gear Metal Gears.
2 non-metal Metal Gears?
You know what I mean? Like 2 Metal Gears that are like the fans call them Metal Gears, but they're not really like officially Metal Gears. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh my god, we didn't even talk about all the emails we got. Maybe after the pop quiz, we got some emails about our last our last 201.
Okay.
And people had some contention. Ooh, okay, wait. Anyway, the answer, the 2 non-Metal Gears are Gecko and the Shagohod.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Wow. I wouldn't expect any less.
Thank you.
Question number 2. True or false? Skullface had the best Metal Gear.
Isn't this kind of subjective?
No, I don't think so.
Like, it's opinion based. Some people might really think that Sahelanthropus.
Look, I'm not talking the cool factor.
I mean, it's still an opinion, though. The answer is false. He did not have the coolest Metal Gear.
Exactly.
But I think, I don't know.
Look,
Send them an email at itstkandm@gmail.com if you want to argue with Tom. It's tkandm@gmail.com.
Look, I concede that on the cool factor,
but it's an opinion.
But the creator of the Metal Gear itself said that the thing is useless. It's a paperweight and a paper tiger, and the only reason why it can move is because a telekinetic child is able to manipulate it like a puppet.
Some people might like it.
I'm not saying it's not alright to like it. You could like it. I like it.
It's not the best. Okay, fair.
I'm
false.
just okay. Feel free to argue with me. It's fine. Question number 3. What terrorist leader's plan was invalidated from the start?
Oh, it's sad that I just know this off. Once you said invalidated, I was like, oh god, is it our boy Solidus?
You are correct. It is our boy Solidus.
I feel like people might listen to this podcast and think we hate Solidus. He's one of my faves. I love Solidus. It's just that Kojima hated Solidus. Like, no love. That man,
This dude was disrespected every step of the way.
The entirety of the series.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what? Metal Gear Solid 4.
He's a charred corpse.
Where'd they put his body?
No, who fucking cares?
Like, come on. They just disrespect, and no one cares. No one fucking cares.
Literally no one cares.
Oh, my baby boy. I'm sorry, Solidus.
I know. Question number 4. How many terrorist groups was Ocelot a part of?
Man, fucking all of them. Ocelot, I will say, was a part of 5. Can you help me name them?
Okay, so
it'd be 3. Cobra Unit?
He was...
Nah.
Well, he wasn't in the Cobra, but he was in 3.
Sorry,
yeah.
In 3. 4.
He was the leader of that one.
Then we have Metal Gear Solid 2.
Yeah.
Metal Gear Solid 1.
Yeah.
And then we have, I'm blanking the last one. 5.
You got it. Yep.
Come on. So he's part of 5 terrorist groups.
That is correct.
Damn. And it's funny because even in all those games, learning about his own backstory, you'd have to really dig.
Mm-hmm.
He's really about the mission.
Oh, he's in there. And I know people might be thinking, but Tom, what about this one? What about that one? I'm only talking mainline games and games that he appears.
Fair, yeah. Yeah, I think as part of like this podcast, maybe as we, near towards the end of our run, not anytime soon, but maybe we should play the like non-canon games.
Oh, I'm totally planning on it. I just this podcast from the jump has been about the mainline canonical games, because I feel like if you get too nitty gritty, with like Ghost Babel, Portable Ops, Metal Gear Mobile. Yeah. Like you just get too into the weeds, and I just want to keep everything as concise as possible.
Especially you're right, for newer fans, just to get dip their toe in gently.
Yeah, it's confusing enough. Let's not do it.
It's not like when you teach babies how to swim, and sometimes you gotta just like push them in and let them.
Yeah, it's the difference between like teaching babies how to swim in like a swimming pool and then like just kicking them off a boat in the ocean. Like,
fair enough. But yeah, Ocelot was part of 5, so. Great question. Thank you.
You're welcome. Now, the last question. Is Big Boss a war criminal?
Oh. Ooh. That's a good question, T. I mean, I think we have to talk about this more thoroughly.
That's true. Maybe, I mean, people might have read the title of this thing already, but maybe we should talk about Big Boss in a more thorough manner and then come back to this question at the end.
Let's go on to the episode.
Is this us breaking format?
This episode's about Big Boss. Bye. No, I mean, on to the episode. So, as we said, today's episode is about Big Boss.
The man himself.
T, what made him this way?
I don't know.
What keeps us fascinated?
I'm not sure.
It's, I feel like, a really contentious point for some fans in this fandom. Mm-hmm. You have many people who are like, Big Boss did nothing wrong. That's like a big meme to me. Big Boss did nothing wrong.
And I know that like a good portion of them are just being tongue-in-cheek. But I know that there are some who really do believe it.
No, we get some comments on... We made one video on YouTube, The Cult of Big Boss, and it was not a very nice video about Big Boss. It was a great video. But like, basically, I'm Big Boss's biggest hater. I really am. I'm his biggest hater. He has one hater, it's me. Mm-hmm. If he has 0 haters, I am dead. Like, it's... I hate him. And, you know, we did not leave that as something that's... what is it? It's you could tell in the video. Mm-hmm. So I feel like we get comments where they're like, Big Boss, if I was him, if I went through everything he went through, I would do the same. Like, he was wrong, whatever.
Yeah, you know what? Then I don't want to know that person. I'm sorry. Look,
and I feel like we're gonna go through everything he went through and see if he's justified.
Yeah, I mean, like, people who defend Big Boss to that degree, I feel that it's easy to get wrapped up in his story, and you're playing from his perspective. So you're going to get the story told in a way that is more beneficial to Big Boss.
It reminds me of like watching The Sopranos, where you watch it and you're like, I love Tony. He is too. He's charismatic. He's funny. He's friendly to some. Mm-hmm. And you're like, of course, why wouldn't I like Tony? And then you like take a step back and you're like, this man is a murderer.
Yeah, this man would
a
not.
Cheater,
this man would
racist.
He would kill you and go home and have dinner like everything's fine.
It's funny. I watched the show knowing that he probably wouldn't fuck with me. Like, it's stuff like that. Mm-hmm. You know, I love this show, and he would not want to be in a room near me or even treat me with any kind of respect because he's just also a racist. Mm-hmm. But it's like you said, when you play a game or you watch a movie from the main person's point of view, you have no choice but to empathize. I mean, I feel like the point of a story. You're placed in someone's shoes. Mm-hmm. And I think 3 did a great job of not only giving him his backstory and kind of providing the basis for that empathy, but I think too that was also where we saw the split happen, because you and I consider Big Boss, there's 2 different versions of him. There
is. The Big Boss that we get in Metal Gear Solid 3 is a different person entirely. Like this is more or less him before the fall, because I consider, personally, if I was to pin a certain area where Big Boss had his turning point, it would be somewhere in Peace Walker. Because, in 3, he is this very idealistic and naive soldier who had something completely messed up happen to him. But then in 3, he tries to change, but then he changes for the worst, you know?
Yeah, and I feel like Peace Walker was the beginning of it, where he was still kind of like Naked Snake, and then the end of Peace Walker happens.
And then bang,
Big Boss.
He is what he is, you know?
And I feel like in this episode, we really kind of wanted to do kind of a more deep dive into like who he is, what kind of probably made him the way he was. And like, you know, we made YouTube videos, which are, I think, a lot more kind of like focused, and I think this is more like a casual conversation, because I feel like you and I, Big Boss is something, I feel like we talk about his backstory a lot, because I feel like you and I think about how trauma really shapes people.
Yeah, it really does. It really, really fucking does. And Big Boss had a lot of it. He had a lot of it. Even before we even play as him, he had a lot of it.
Rick, because we play as him, his first, like, in chronological time in the timeline, the first time we see him is 3.
Yeah.
So we see him as already a full-fledged soldier.
And he's already had a career at this point. He's already it's safe to assume that he served in the Korean War. I think that's already like confirmed. He served under the boss.
Yeah.
And together they developed CQC. He did a lot, you know? Nobody really talks about like what his life was before the military.
And we only get bits and pieces.
Yeah. And like you are the person you are because of like those like formative years as a kid.
Completely. I feel like a lot of the stuff I do in my job, so I'm a social worker by day, and I feel like a lot of what I was taught was attachment theory, early childhood trauma. A big thing that I learned about in school was it's called what was it? I think it was the ACE quiz.
ACE quiz?
It's like early childhood adversity. ACE, let me see if it's ACE quiz. Let's see. Adverse childhood experiences. Forgive me. So it's the ACE quiz. So for those who are interested, basically it kind of you fill it out and it kind of shows you just kind of like how how much trauma you've been through.
Oh.
And it's a good basis for kind of understanding like what may have affected you growing up.
Interesting.
So let's see.
I might want to try that. Or maybe we could go through the ACE quiz. Oh, this will be fun. We can do this right now.
Okay,
let's go through the ACE quiz and then we'll discuss how Big Boss might have answered.
And I think too, our lack of answers is also telling. So okay, this is a small version of the ACE quiz.
Okay.
So it says for each yes answer, you add 1 point to your overall score.
Okay.
And the total number is your number of ACEs, adverse childhood experiences. So before your 18th birthday, this is the first one. And again, trigger warning, we're talking about this episode, trauma, severe trauma, neglect, abuse, you know.
So just be warned.
Question number 1. Did a parent or other adult in the household often or very often swear at you, insult you, put you down, or humiliate you? Or act in a way that made you afraid that you might be physically hurt?
Okay. So, I have a personal theory about Big Boss, and it's not strictly canon, but it's never explicitly said that it didn't happen. I find it very telling that in every single game, Big Boss never mentions his family.
Yes.
Not once.
Not even mentioned his family. He also enlisted in the military as of the current timeline when he was 15. That's what, 10th grade? A child.
Yeah.
Just hit the teenage years.
That tells me that he was running away.
Because if not running away, he either was very patriotic.
I mean, it could have been that too.
Or forced. And 2 out of the 3 are negative. You know what I mean? So if he wasn't patriotic, let's say, you were forced or you were running away from something. Which I feel like since the fact that we can't answer this question
is telling. And like guys, don't you think it is weird? Big Boss is not a clone. He's just another guy. He's a normal guy. And his main man, Kaz, he talks day and night about his trauma. He talks all about where he comes from. It's not like people are afraid to talk about their families in this series.
That is true.
Big Boss, for some reason, his entire background is just blank.
Yeah.
And why is that? Isn't that interesting?
No, it really is. And if we can jump ahead a little bit, the boss, he clung on to her so strongly.
We know more about the boss's family.
Boss's family and him and the boss.
Yeah.
He knew how many days it was since he last saw her in 3. He said, "We're not lovers. We're what is it? What's the quote?
We weren't lovers. It was more than that.
More than that. You know, like it's and I feel like later on this episode we'll talk about kind of like their relationship. But he clung on to her in a very maternal, like as a maternal figure. And
that tells me he must have lacked a maternal figure, right?
I mean, if we think about attachment, like it's so. Oh my. Okay, you know what? Let's pause for a minute. Let's go back to this quiz.
Okay.
So again, to your point, we don't know a lot about his backstory, and the fact that we can't answer this question whether he was kind of abused either verbally or physically in the home To me, I want to put a point.
I would agree.
Because let's just put a point. Because it's like, we don't know, and why don't we know? Did a parent or other adult in the household often or very often push, grab, slap, or throw something at you? Ever hit you so hard that you had marks or were injured?
Now, this could be debatable.
But also, since he was in the military before 18, he was 15 in the military. To me...
That means like a sergeant might have manhandled him a little bit, right?
Also, maybe he was at war.
And he was at war. I mean, yeah, you're right.
Number 3, it's referencing SA, so we're going to skip. We don't know. I'm going to say no.
Let's say no.
Did you often or very often, oh my God, this is his whole life, feel that no one in your family loved you or thought you were important or special?
Give him the point. Everybody fucking knows. Give him the fucking point.
Your family didn't look out for each other, feel close to each other, or support each other? I would say what's valid, your family didn't feel close to each other. So that's a point, because that's for sure.
Yeah.
He's not close to his family. Number 5, did you often or very often feel that you didn't have enough to eat, had to wear dirty clothes, had no one to protect you, your parents were too drunk or high to take care of you or take you to the doctor?
Now let's talk about history. When was Big Boss born?
1935, I believe.
Yes, that is smack dab in the middle of the Great Depression. So, if we say that he was born in the Great Depression, and if we take that a step further to say he was born to parents that either couldn't provide or wouldn't provide, what kind of a kid would that produce? Well, I just so happened to have some letters written by children of the Great Depression, and they wrote to Eleanor Roosevelt, because apparently children did that back then.
Oh, okay. So wait, so these are, so kids just wrote letters to Eleanor, just like, I guess, about their life?
Yeah. So like, she had a quote at the time, and she said, "I have moments of real terror when I think we might be losing this generation. We have got to bring these young people into active life of the community and make them feel that they are necessary."
Tell me how that's not relevant to now. That's
right?
why it's so important to know history. Continue. Right? Oh my God.
So, I have 2 letters here. One is from a random girl aged 16 and a random boy aged 17.
Just for my concern, where'd you find these? Like what?
Oh God, yeah, I should have sourced this. But it was from like a historical archive, and they had just like a whole bunch of letters that was just saved.
Okay.
And I just found some relevant ones that I thought that were kind of cool.
No, that's fine. I love a good source. Like
I'll send the source in a bit.
Okay.
But it's kind of cool because like they left them like misspellings and all, which is kind of cool. Like Mother. Anyway, which one do you want to?
Do the shorter one right here. Okay. The girl.
So this one was written by a girl from Royce City, Texas, September 6th. 1934. And she writes to Eleanor Roosevelt, "Dear friend, well, I don't suppose you know who I am, but I'm a 16-year-old motherless girl that has to work hard for all that she gets. I have a brother and a sister and a daddy. We are working at day labor for a living and don't get much of that to do. In the winter, I could piece quilts. And if I have, you know what? Maybe you should read this. My reading comprehension is shit."
No. These are like formatted in a weird way. "In the winter, I could piece quilts if I had any scraps. We are trying to keep off the relief this winter, so we are keeping every penny we can to buy groceries this winter, whether we have sufficient clothes or not. We haven't even enough furniture." This is how it's written. "We haven't any bedsteads, a stove, or a cabinet. Some of our neighbors are letting us use their stove, cabinet, and one bedstead. I thought you might have some old clothes, coats, and shoes, or any kind of clothing you could send to us. I have read so much about your kindness. I know if you have any, you will send them. I would send some money for postage, but haven't any. Addressed to your loving friend, Miss the H." That makes me really sad.
And there were like a ton of letters that read just like this.
And like you said, too, a lot of this, like the reason why it was hard for me to read as well, Tom, because it's just a lot of things are capitalized when they shouldn't be capitalized. Yeah, there's periods in weird places.
They're written like, frankly, undereducated kids. And that's probably exactly what they were. Like, I'm not going to read the whole thing because this one's much longer. But the first sentence
This one's from 1940, so Big Boss would have been 5.
Mm-hmm. And the first sentence right here. Dear Miss Roosevelt, I am a boy of 17. I quit school 2 years ago in order to find my Why am I... What is wrong with me? Am I dumb?
Find my dog.
Am I dumb?
No, you're not dumb.
Am I
You're not dumb.
Like, am I dyslexic? What's wrong with me?
Wait, I can read it.
Let's. I'm conquering this mountain now.
I said you're not dumb. This is a serious episode.
This is a serious episode. We're talking about trauma. God. Dear Miss Roosevelt, I'm a boy of 17. I quit school 2 years ago in order to find a job, since my dad died 3 years ago. Like...
3 years ago, he was 14.
Yeah.
In what, 9th, 10th grade?
Crazy.
Wait, we stretched his insurance money so far as it would go, but now we have to face it. Okay, that got really dark. Oh my God, so far. We stretched his insurance money so far as it would go, but now we have to face it. I had to read that a second time. Think about this, 1940, Big Boss was 5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So we're talking about...
This is the kind of environment that odds are he probably grew up in something like this.
Okay, I'm skimming through this. But this child from Cleveland, Ohio, November 10th, 1940, there are 5 of us. Mother, 3 boys, and myself. I really wouldn't be writing this, but I can't see ourselves evicted from our house. My mother can't work because she's recovering from tuberculosis and must rest. If I am afraid that if nothing comes up, I will turn to crime as a means of getting financial help. Ooh.
Does that sound like Big Boss to you?
Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh my God. Like, and I know we're jumping from like this to like the ACEs quiz, but like you said, we have to think first of the environment that this child grew in. So we're talking about extreme poverty. We're talking about also like not even just for him, the entire culture and community of America at that time. Mm-hmm. So it was like, yeah, you're poor, but also everyone else is. They don't really care about you because they're also suffering.
Exactly. The entire country is in shambles. You're just one of many.
We have tuberculosis around. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So we don't know about his parents, any relatives. I mean, it's no wonder that he joined the army as quick as he did. I mean, it could be a matter of like necessity.
Getting out.
For many people, they do crime to go to jail so they can get fed.
Isn't that nuts? That's kind of nuts.
I've known some clients who have just committed small petty thefts to go to jail because they're more comfortable in there and there's more stability.
That is so sad.
So like we're talking about, you know, you're trying to find the best system, and you know, for this child the best system was enlisting.
Mm-hmm. So
but yeah, back to number 5.
Back to number 5.
Number 5, did you feel often that you didn't have enough to eat or had to wear dirty clothes or had no one to protect you?
Odds are yes. Now number 6. Were your parents ever separated or divorced? Now, this isn't a great metric, but the divorce rates in 1930s America were not high, so I'm leaning towards no.
Let's put no. Let's just try to be as close as we can to possible. Yeah. Was number 7, was your parent caregiver often or very often push, grab, slapped, or had something thrown at him? Sometimes often. Okay, so like kind of like intimate partner violence in the home. Let's say no, because we don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. We can't confirm that.
Did you live with anyone who was a prolonged drinker or alcoholic? We don't know.
We don't know, so we'll put no.
Was a household member depressed or mentally ill? We don't know. I'll say no.
Yeah.
Did a member go to prison? We don't know.
We do not know.
Let's go to finish. But I think too, let's see our score first. So it says 4 out of 10, which is still low, but I think a lot of it is that we also don't...
We don't know.
We don't know. And the fact that 4 out of these 10 intense situations we do know he qualifies for, it's enough traumatic experience before your 18th birthday. Mm-hmm. So as a child, he already experienced so much traumatic situations. Mm-hmm. And for the most of it, we don't know if anything else is relevant to his experience. You want to keep this open? I see you looking at it.
Well, like, I'm just wondering how for, like, is there like certain kind of things we could look up out of this 4 out of 10 score, or is it just 4 out of 10?
Let's see. I mean, it's essentially just it's a test to help you understand kind of why you may be suffering presently with any kind of depression or like, navigating interpersonal relationships. It's more of a way for you to be like, oh yeah, my childhood was kind of rough. I didn't have a normative, a normative life. So, for example, we found it's a nonprofit stop abuse campaign, and they said if you have an ACE score of 4, that essentially means that you're at higher risk for having problems working, serious financial problems, heart disease, stroke, because we're talking about your stress levels as a child.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's mental stress, cortisol leads to sadly physical ailments as well. So we're talking about like you are at a greater risk for not only mental health challenges, but physical health challenges.
It's kind of funny. It says your chance for heart disease goes up by 5.6%, and that's kind of what he died from in 4. It's a little funny. I'm sorry.
Wow, we're laughing about trauma.
No, well, look, he died from like a heart attack disease, and I just find it a little funny that your chance of getting a heart attack goes up by 5%. I'm like, wow, that's kind of funny. Anyway.
But I mean, essentially, so like we kind of went on a real circle about this ACE quiz, talking about kind of his trauma. But I think, for Big Boss, not that it's really indicative or like it's a clear, like open and shut case of like your childhood affects who you are as a person. People can grow and change. I do believe that. But I think it's important to think about him because I don't think he gave himself a chance to change.
I don't think so either. Well, he did, but he changed for the worse.
He did change for the worse. If we think about like growing up and attachment theory and how you form relationships, we're talking about this child. We don't know his upbringing, but we know that as soon as he could, even before it was legal, he ran to the military. I am under the impression that he did not have a strong relationship with his parents or family.
Exactly.
And the fact that when he became a decorated soldier in the military, he didn't go back to them, or there wasn't no fanfare like, oh, our son, our grandson, look at him. Look at what, there was no fanfare.
Nothing.
It was just him.
Like to me, it's such a telling thing that when he became a decorated soldier, like even in Metal Gear Solid 3, he was a decorated soldier. He was a part of like the special forces group. He was the shit, He never talked about his family. He never talked about going home. He never talked about any of that.
And I think that's why his relationship with the boss is such a telling point to me that he really did suffer in childhood. Because the first person he could cling to for some kind of maternal or familial relationship, he did.
And he did it hard.
I mean, it's interesting because I used to work in the adoption field. And a lot of like adoption and early childhood work is, they speak about attachment. I've been saying attachment a lot in this episode. But, the relationships you form as an infant are so crucial. Like, the relationship you form in utero when you're in your mother's, when you're forming as a fetus, and then that first year out when you're supposed to be held and touched. Like babies, they need to be touched, they need to be held, they need to be picked up. And they say a lot of that fuels how you connect and relate to people in the future. There are many studies of like sadly times like the Great Depression or periods of great financial hardship in other countries where you had a lot of orphans and a lot of people in a lot of infants being abandoned. You have situations where babies were not held or picked up. And when they become 5 or 6, it is terribly difficult. Some people say impossible for them to form meaningless connections because just their brain is not formed in that way.
That is so sad.
Isn't that like... And like I implore people to look into it. Attachment theory is so interesting. And my own canon is that as a baby, he was held. I think, because I do think he's formed relationships with people in this series. I don't think that he's been able to form long lasting connections. And I think that's a result of him as a child not having secure attachments with his parents. Because at first, as a baby, you need that touch, you need to be held, you cry, you get picked up, you know someone's coming. But when you get older and language starts forming and you start kind of like seeing who's coming for you, I think that's where he probably formed like an insecure attachment.
Right.
Because he probably got older and like maybe he cried as a 6-year-old and
just told to be quiet.
Told to be quiet, no one was there. Maybe he was like 5 and it was like, oh, it's only me. I'm getting fed because I do it. No one's coming to save me. And I really do think that fueled a lot of his future work. Because I feel like Big Boss is really, I would say almost an opportunist. Like I feel like he's kind of like a lone wolf in a sense. His last real connection was the boss. And when she, quote unquote, betrayed him.
That was it. That just turned him for the worse.
So I know I went a lot, but
No. It's very insightful, and I think it's like really important on how you could dissect this character because we don't know really anything about his past, like before the military, and I feel like that time is crucial to like really understand what kind of a person this is.
And I feel like it's important to understand like it's okay to lean on people and it's okay to need help and it's okay to also do things on your own. But I think when you have this need to always do it on your own, when you have this sense of like, I'm the only one that can do it right, that is kind of, that's a trauma reaction.
Yeah. The need to do it on your own. That only I can do this because I can't depend on anyone. That's the sign of someone who has never asked for help because they couldn't ask for help.
Exactly. So if all of you are feeling like I'm hitting something on the head with you, I am sorry, but that's part of what I do. That's part of my work. It's, you hear people's reactions or behaviors and you're like, okay, I can tell that you couldn't lean on anyone as a child. I could tell that, oh, you can't feel this emotion of sadness, or maybe you're so self-aware of your emotions. Yeah, maybe you had to be because you weren't allowed to express them and it was safer to keep everything inside. So I feel like I see Big Boss and I see periods where I can infer a lot of like what he maybe went through.
So heavy.
It is heavy, and I think the saddest part about this is I feel like his work with the boss and Metal Gear Solid 3, that was a potential way for him, I feel like, to like almost like heal that trauma.
Yeah, if the Virtuous Mission and Operation Snake Eater didn't happen, he might have been okay. Like he might have went to the military. He could have found a support structure, and he might have been okay. I mean, he still needed to work on himself, obviously, but like there was a ladder there,
Oh, I see you. Ladder.
Oh, ooh, yeah, a ladder.
There's a ladder.
I did that on purpose.
And I think between him and the boss, not only did he see a mother figure in her, she saw a son figure in him.
Yeah, she did. She definitely saw herself as a paternal figure.
Maternal. Yeah.
Maternal.
No, like there definitely was. It was a reciprocal relationship. It wasn't just him like pining over this like motherly figure. They worked together.
Yeah.
And there was respect.
Yeah.
There was earned trust. And I think to your point, stability.
Yeah, she brought him a form of stability that he probably never had. Because just think about it. You're a teenage boy, you're 15, you run away to the military, and you're in a war. That sounds very chaotic, right? That just sounds insane. The fact that like he managed to hone in to this legendary figure, and then to have them take him under her wing must have been such a grounding experience. And maybe that's why he holds the boss in such high regard. I mean, outside of like developing CQC together, that must have been the kind of relationship that he really needed at that point in his life.
And I feel like too, even after World War II, you go into the Cold War and like the world is still chaotic, and yet he has this pillar now. the world was chaotic when he was a child, when he was a teen, but now he's an adult, and the world's still wild.
But he's got someone in his corner
who's looking at him and like showing him love.
Yeah.
And again, I think you can say that there was love in that relationship. We can talk about mentor, mentee, like, you know, like someone who was a figure that you respect. There was love there.
Oh yeah, I mean, the boss said herself that she loved him.
And I think her death was, and not even just her death itself, because that's, yeah, but how it happened and her choices, which really were the radicalizing moment for him.
Yeah. The boss's deaths are are definitely the turning points for Big Boss. Like, the first time she died, when she actually died, was at the end of Snake Eater. And he basically learns that the government doesn't care about her. It didn't care about him. It doesn't care about anything except protecting itself. And when he found out that the boss was okay with this, it's like, so you're okay throwing away everything that we had over some people that don't even care about you? I care about you. Why don't you care about me?
Exactly. You threw me away.
Yeah.
I think for him, this was another betrayal. If we're hypothesizing that he was, you know, a lost child, no parents, or whatever, that there was a betrayal in a sense. So if he grew up, let's say with, let's say as an infant, and he was kind of like on his own, no one really picked him up, touched him, cared for him, that's a first betrayal. You were born to someone who did not love you. That's a betrayal. And that's why it's like people in that stage who don't get that, it's hard for them to form attachments, just I think cognitively, or subconsciously. As a child, 3 to 10 or whatever, you know who's your guardian. And if they're not taking care of you, or like you're reaching up for them, asking them for help, and they're not looking at you or supporting you, that's a betrayal. So I think that's kind of the basis for this one, in that we have this love, this relationship. You're my mentor, my mom in a sense, and you're leaving me? But you said you love me.
Yeah.
Why would you? I thought you love me. And it's, she has a job. She's part of the military. She's essentially doing her job and doing it well.
Yeah. She's really good at it. She's really good at her job.
So it's almost a sense of like, you pick that over me. And I think this is a really multi-layered issue for him. I think in the sense of like, my mentor dissed the shit out of me. Everything we had, does that even mean anything? And then I think another layer is, oh, you're gonna let them treat you like that? Like you're gonna just die for a country or for people who don't care about you?
And you're gonna leave behind somebody who actually cares about you.
And I think that's like such a big point of contention for him. I said for me, for him. And I feel like it's hard to not feel empathy for him in this moment.
Yeah. Because I mean, at this point in the story, Big Boss or Naked Snake hasn't become the problem. Things are just happening to him. And how he reacts later on is because of moments like these. And that moment at the end where he refuses to shake the president's hand and he walks away and he's saluting the grave and he's crying. Like, that is such... I feel like Big Boss probably thinks of that day every day.
Oh, yeah. He hasn't moved on from that day.
Like, mentally, he's still at that gravesite. That's where he fucking died.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, he was never able to let it go. In 4, you could say that he was able to accept certain things, but he was always there. He never left.
Yeah, no, that moment lived with him throughout everything. And I think we could all think about, like, think of moment. Let's think about our traumas. But like, but like think about like a really intense moment in your life. Like for the months leading after, sometimes it's the only thing you can think about. Sometimes you go through something and it's like it takes a couple of years for you to really like not have to be the first thought when you wake up.
Yeah.
And I think for him, he never got past it. I think every day he woke up and was just like reminded and reminded of just like that betrayal.
Like the world sucks and my mom betrayed me. Those were his first thoughts every day for the rest of his days.
The world was chaotic, and the one person who was supposed to be there for me did not choose me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's such a core, like, you almost can't blame him for acting the way he was, because if someone who loved him told him that she loved him and cared for him and then chose somebody else,
Mm-hmm.
like, you're like, damn, who do I trust then?
Exactly.
Who do I trust? And who did he trust? You know what I mean? Like, who did he trust?
Yeah.
And I people can probably say Ocelot, whatever. I don't even think he really trusted Ocelot.
No, he saw Ocelot as his top guy and nothing more.
Yeah, I think that's why it's so important when we talk about Peace Walker, in that he was still, I think during Peace Walker, he was navigating that grief and navigating like the after effects, kind of like living in trauma, where you're like, you know, like what's going on? I guess I'll do this. I guess I'll start something. You know, like you're trying to live with it.
Yeah, you try to like process. And in Peace Walker, he tries to carve his own path. He doesn't he quits being a U.S. citizen, more or less. He runs away.
But he's working with his team. He's working with Kaz. He's working, like, you know,
he still has hope that he could build a relationship.
And you can tell, I feel like in that game, that he has a relationship with them.
Yeah.
I feel like that game, you feel like there's some kind of reciprocal, like, community.
Yeah.
As opposed to later games where it's very obviously he's the head honcho.
And it's nothing else. Like, in Peace Walker, when he talks to Kaz, or Amanda, Huey, Chico, you get a sense that he's still the same guy in 3. He's different, but
he's hurt. Yeah,
he's hurt. But like, there's a sense of the man that you still played as in 3, up until he loses his mind in that AI chamber.
There's 2 points. There's 2 points that I don't mean to laugh at, but it's like, this man is severely traumatized. You know, I feel like he's severely traumatized in what we actually know of him. And then if we think about all the stuff that he maybe went through as a kid, it's like, how does he even go moving
I don't know.
Life?
He's just on autopilot by the time he gets to Metal Gear 2. He's just like, the world must burn.
I want to talk more about them, but like just a quick overview. We talk about the AI pod where he literally kills her. He kills her essentially. He's pulling out the memory.
These oh god, I forget the exact term. Like these memory cards or whatever the fuck.
He's taking it out and like destroying the AI, and so he hears the boss's voice slowly get lower and more just disheveled, like it's
and just dying, and he's killing her again. And he's not actually killing her, it's a computer, but like it's a more mental thing this time, and it's a longer and excruciatingly long sequence.
Kills her. Then the AI pod walks into the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
So now he kills her, and then she walks into the ocean to prevent a nuclear strike. Yeah.
And so it's like, why would she do this again? She chose to kill herself again.
And essentially, like, yeah, to get away from him. And then Kaz comes around and he's like, hey, remember you trusted me and we were working together? Well, actually, I lied. Paz is, I know who they are. And
but I made this whole thing. I did it for us because I love you. I mean, we're partners together in this.
So I feel like you have this moment where like 3 different traumatic things happen. He sees his mom again. She decides to do something that is again, she does something that's not self-preserving. He saw her follow through the mission in Metal Gear Solid 3 against her own life and her own autonomy, and the robot's kind of doing it again. It's not self-preserving itself. It's doing it for the betterment of everybody else. And then you have Kaz's ass come in and he's just like, yeah, I know you trusted me. Well, you shouldn't have.
But like I'm doing it for good reasons. I know you have trust issues, but please, I'm doing it for good reasons. You would have said no. And look how strong and big and cool we are now. Aren't you proud of me? You're not gonna stab my back, are you? You're not gonna do that, right?
It's like, I feel like Big Boss, he made all these moves and he had these relationships. And it's funny because he did it himself. He had all these ulterior moves and ideas because he thought he knew what was best. But so did everybody else. But he looks at them like, you betrayed me. It was you. It was your fault, you know? So I feel like with Kaz and the boss, it was just, he had these strong relationships and it was people who he felt betrayed him.
Yeah.
And that point, I think, right at the end with Kaz, that was like his breaking point.
Yeah, that was the moment where Naked Snake died, in my opinion. Like, that's where Big Boss was born, in that moment.
And from then on, I mean, Big Boss, as we see in other games, Metal Gear 2, we see these large communities where it's not like he's on the ground with them and working. He's always hidden away, doing something else. Even in Metal Gear 2, like he's the last boss hidden away in a room and you have to fight him at the last point, as opposed to like I would say Naked Snake or Peace Walker, where he's in the community. He's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like he's sociable. And in 5, you want to talk about him in 5?
Tell him, T.
Okay, so remember how we talked about how personally Naked Snake took it that the boss sacrificed herself, and it's like, I would never do that to my men. I would never do that. I would treat them with the utmost respect. I'm going to create a nation of soldiers where soldiers are respected and they're going to be deserving of all of the respect that they deserve. Oh, what's that? What's that? I there's somebody that looks like me and I could take advantage of them and I'll sacrifice.
And I can just go over here and just like, he can build up my image and like do all this cool stuff, but it's I'm getting the credit. Oh,
okay.
And he'll like it.
He thinks he's me. Okay, I'm not gonna correct this. Oh, in order to get him out, I have to sacrifice an entire hospital.
Oh yeah, right. So I'm gonna sneak through. I know they're after me, but you know what? Let's just use them as human shields.
Yeah, that's what a hero would do.
Oh, he's on the base and everyone thinks it's him, but I can just hide over here and recover and rest, and then at the end he'll like it?
Okay.
Say less.
Okay.
Say less.
Oh, and my ex-boyfriend wants to train him up in spite. I'll let him do that. Yeah, sure. Why not?
Great plan. Definitely someone who's not this is something that someone who's not traumatized would do.
Very true.
I feel like in Metal Gear, was it 2? For people who are like, oh, Big Boss, like he did something wrong, whatever. It's yes, you're traumatized, you go through a lot, there's pain, but at what point is it that the pain continues? At what point does the pain end with you?
Yeah, at what point does the abused become the abuser?
And I think that's a very delicate topic. I feel like that's something that even for this podcast episode, that could be a YouTube video. I feel like we need more research and care needs to be done into that.
Yeah, we're shooting off the cuff right now. It deserves, a topic like this deserves to be more researched.
But like, to your point, like when the abused becomes the abuser, it's that fine line of like, yeah, I know you suffered and that's so valid and important, but now you're causing harm to other people.
And don't you think that it's interesting that a man who was as abused he was as a child and neglected, who ran away to the military to find structure, don't you think it's interesting that he is recruiting children to make them soldiers, to give them stability? that's almost like some sort of warped way of correcting his mistake of trying to be a better person, but like he doesn't know how to do it, so he's messing up people's lives even further.
He's doing all he knows.
Yeah.
All he knows is war. He says it himself. All he knows is war. He feels himself when he's on the battlefield. And to your point, you get these kids and you're like, yeah, they're from war-torn countries. Maybe I caused them. But you know what? I'm going to take them in and I'm going to raise them and treat them. And it's like he doesn't know how to raise a family, or he doesn't know about... So I'm going to raise them to be soldiers. Sniper Wolf is fine.
I turned out okay. I'm the best soldier in the world, okay? I turned out great. Look at me.
And for those who are listening who maybe are like, no, he didn't make child soldiers. He didn't, he wouldn't do that. In Metal Gear 2, he says it.
He says it himself.
He says, I'm gonna make...
Sniper Wolf was literally one of them. Maybe not the one in Metal Gear 2, but she admits herself that she was a child and Big Boss took her in. And
I forgot what the exact quote is. I'm sorry, everybody. But in Metal Gear 2, he's like, yeah, I'm going to raise them up and put them back out there. Like, that. This is all they know. This is the life. And they're going to like it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a fan of the flames. So I feel like it's, we have this man who it's like trauma just creates more trauma. And I think at what point is your trauma leading to your actions, and at what point are you just perpetuating the abuse and you're refusing to change?
Mm-hmm.
Because at what point do we say, Big Boss is incapable of just love and forming relationships? And at what point is that of his own volition, or is it one point of his own upbringing? Do you get what I'm trying to say?
I think so.
Like at what point is he just like incapable because of his trauma, or is it his own refusal to change and be better?
I think he refuses to change, because at the end of 4, I don't want to say that like he's completely changed, but like I think he is beginning to see that, oh, maybe I was wrong.
Right at the end when he's dying?
Yeah, look, I mean, it's a convenient way to do it, but like I think that if Big Boss wasn't programmed to die by Fox Die, more or less, that maybe if he was granted a few more years, maybe he would have healed a little bit? Maybe?
Yeah, at what point is it that he knows that he's dying, and that's kind of like you get that big moment of like reflection, forced reflection?
Yeah.
And, like who's to say he wouldn't just waited 4 years and then did it at the end again?
Yeah. I mean, I know that we're going to get some haters here, but I do think it is also telling that even on his deathbed, the man is pointing at Zero, a man who's just comatose at this point, and saying that it's all his fault and that he didn't play a role.
I will never not laugh at that, because he literally wheeled this man in who is sadly very senile on his end, like you said, not even verbal, and going, like, how, think about the optics.
Yeah.
You're blaming your whole life, war, everything on this man, and this man can't even defend himself.
Yeah.
It's almost like,
and I'm not saying
you should just put up a mirror and be like, it's this man, and just Big Boss stare.
Exactly. and look, I'm not saying that Zero didn't play a role. Of course he played a role. He is guilty of his own fair share of crimes. But to say that absolves Big Boss of everything, it is nonsense. It's just nonsense.
And especially the magnitude of what you've done. There were many points when you should have been like, oh, okay, that was me. My bad. You know what I mean? Like, there was many points where there were periods for reflection.
Mm-hmm.
I do think it was a moment where he was at his end, and he was like, oh, my bad. But I think that's why Solid Snake is such, like, Solid Snake is a fantastic character. And I really think Solid Snake is a great character for all of us who've been traumatized, because it just shows you how you can rise above it. And there's the capability in all of us to heal, for strength, for love and family. Mm-hmm. And I feel like Solid Snake really was that mirror to Big Boss, because Solid Snake, we don't know much, but in my head, they had a very similar upbringing.
I would say that too.
And the fact that Solid Snake was capable of forming relationships, that he was traumatized in Metal Gear Solid 1, very hardened and sad, and he did partake in alcohol and you know what I mean? Like he
Yeah.
did have his vices, but in 4 he had a family.
Yeah, the Solid Snake that we see in 4, I see as a man that is not 100% healed, but that's a guy that is on the mend.
Yeah, he's on the mend.
And he's still fighting. And he still has hope. And he has someone who loves him. He has a daughter. Like that this is a family man, you know?
And someone who trusts. I feel like it's funny because, right, like Metal Gear Solid 4, many people can say it's fan service, but you have all the people that come in are his old friends who come in and they're like, we got you.
He has a support system of not just like Big Boss had stooges. He had people that who followed him like a cult leader, whereas Solid Snake had people that followed him because they believed in him and they were his friends.
I get emotional for Oka, like, but yeah, like Uncle Raiden, like you had people who like, you know, all traumatized, but it was this community of like, we've been through a lot, but there's better out there. And I feel like for Big Boss, the only person that was his potential for recovery and healing was the boss, and then in a sense Kaz, but I think it was like two people who are both traumatized trying to be together in a relationship. It's just they're not.
And it was just a very toxic relationship, and it did not.
Breakups.
It did not.
Breakups.
And Kaz being like, I'm over him. Meanwhile, he's with someone that looks exactly like his ex.
I don't need him. Yo, they're like the Ronnie and Sam of the series. I feel like who would be who? This is such a niche thing.
Your Jersey Shore comparison?
I've been rewatching the Jersey Shore, but I feel like, okay, wait. So Kaz, you know, Kaz would be Sammy. Sammy, and then Big Boss would be Ronnie, because Ronnie's rough right now. And Ronnie is healing, but it's almost like at the end, like too late to be healing. And Kaz, I would say he had a family, he had a daughter. He was helping out Solid Snake, so I feel like he healed in a sense.
Yeah.
So Kaz is Sammy's sweetheart, and Big Boss is Ronnie.
I like that.
Oh man, I gotta think about this more.
Who's Snooki?
Who's Snooki? Ocelot? No.
Ocelot Snooki?
Who's Snooki? Fun-loving, friendly, a good friend, loyal. Who would be Snooki? And the life of the party.
Ooh.
The life of the party, loyal, friendly, funny, sweet, caring, small.
Chico?
No, not Chico.
Paz?
My God, I gotta think about this more. If you have an idea of who the Snooki is in Metal Gear Solid universe, it's tkandm@gmail.com. That is itstkandm@gmail.com. But anyway, I need to think about this more.
Okay.
But yeah, like you for Big Boss, you had two potential relationships that could have been like moments of healing, moments of real genuine connection, and it was a failure on many parts. I mean, with everything we know about Big Boss, I mean, like, does it excuse all his actions and mistakes and choices later on? Because
I don't know.
He caused a lot of harm in the series.
He did. He did a lot of crimes. He took the world's oil for hostage. He was the only guy with a nuclear weapon for a good point.
He totally changed this person's physical appearance through non-consensual plastic surgery, brainwashing,
sacrificed dozens and dozens and dozens of men and women in a hospital.
He created child soldiers, perpetuated the industrial. Was it the military industrial complex?
He had a cult of personality to the point of blind fervorism that just follows him blindly wherever he goes. So let's circle back and answer this original question that we had in the beginning of the episode. Pop quiz question number 5. Is Big Boss a war criminal?
So after everything we heard, I mean, it's hard to say that he's like.
Wait,
Wait, my phone's blowing up.
Wait, what's going on right now?
Wait.
Holy shit. It says like Big Boss is on trial?
Oh my god.
He's on trial right now? Are they gonna convict him for all of his crimes?
Next episode is the trial of Big Boss. See you next time.